Greece failed to reach an agreement on building a coalition government, which means another round of elections next month. Matt, why couldn't a consensus be reached? What was standing in the way?
Because the voters didn't produce a consensus themselves. Basically, the two mainstream parties which backed the bailout had been in power for the last, well, essentially for the last 40 years, but had been in power until now. The Greek voters gave a lot of their votes to two more radical left-wing parties and one fairly radical right-wing party, and these parties said, we're not going to go ahead with the bailout. They couldn't form a government. There was no way to form a government of sort of national unity, and the president was really left no choice but call elections.
So who's favored to prevail among those parties you just mentioned? Who's favored to prevail in the elections next month, and how will they go about dealing with this debt crisis?
Well, the party that's really emerged here is kind of out of the blue is something called the Syriza party, is led by Alexis Tsipras, who's a 37-year-old engineer. This is the radical left party. They got about 17% of the vote. His position is pretty straightforward. We're going to renegotiate this austerity package. We're not going to implement what the Europeans are asking to give us money. And in fact, we actually want to create 100,000 new government jobs and reverse a lot of these measures. Now, he has risen in the polls for taking this very strong stance, and it really plays to the Greek feeling that we don't like austerity, but we want to keep the euro. Right. We can have it both ways. And I think what's an opportunity, at least for Greece, in the next month or so for the rerun of elections, is to have a really proper debate of the consequences of their political choices. The Europeans may be willing to bend on some of the conditions, but the fundamental austerity measures that need to be implemented, they're not going to bend on. They're saying, look, you do this, you get your $130 billion. Right. You don't do it, you don't get any money. You default on your debts, you're going to be forced out of the euro, and the pain, at least for the short and medium term, will be far worse than anything German Chancellor Angela Merkel can think up in terms of austerity measures.
And I want to ask you about Merkel and the new French president who met today in a minute. But first, if Greece does leave the euro, that pain you were just describing, those consequences, would they be contained to Greece? What is the contagion risk here?
Well, I mean, the markets certainly think that it cannot be contained to Greece, and there is, I mean, there's a lot of worries that, you know, that one, it's the precedent, this is how countries can get out of, there is now a way out of the euro. Second thing that it does, it basically creates doubts about these smaller peripheral countries, southern countries. It creates a sort of banking systems, because a lot of Greeks, knowing that there's a possibility that they might lose the euro, have taken their euros and moved them outside Greece, because if you go back to the drachma, which the Greeks had before, they're going to do a forced conversion into drachmas. People are going to lose their savings. If the Portuguese see that, the Spanish see that it might be sort of runs on banking systems. And this is why you had this sort of bond markets and stock markets have really reacted very badly to this.
Quickly, 30 seconds. Sarkozy's successor, Francois Hollande, the new French president,
first day in office today,
with Angela Merkel. Will he have any more success than his predecessor did in pushing Germany the way France wants?
Well, I mean, they made some nice noises. It's the first time they ever met. On the way there, actually, Hollande's plane was hit by lightning.
Not a good sign.
It's not a good sign. Or it gets better from here on in, which we'll see. But, you know, Angela Merkel has no political reason and actually has a very hard time legally to give in to what the French want. They want a Eurobond, they want to renegotiate the fiscal pact. I think she may be open to ideas of how to stimulate growth. We all want growth in the economy, but she is not going to be too open to these ideas from Hollande, and he won't have that much leverage, frankly.